Writing. It seems so simple in theory. Just think up a story, then put words on paper, right? If only it were that easy. Oh sure, you could just do that, but in all likelihood you'd end up having to start over anyway. You see, there are actual different approaches to how one can go about writing a novel. These approaches are all on a sliding scale, but there are two main styles of writing that most people fall under. One style is what we would call an outline writer, while the other is what we call a discovery writer. These are two ends of a spectrum, and you can fall anywhere on that sliding scale. It's very rare that you'll fall directly in the middle or on one complete extreme or the other. Most likely, you'll end up somewhere on one side or the other of the scale. To be clear, when I talk about styles, I mean the method you use to write your novel, not what we would call your authorial voice. I might make a video on that sometime in the future, but for now we'll accept style as your method of writing. But I've rambled quite a bit. What is outline writing? What is discovery writing? Is one approach better than the other? And where do you fall on the spectrum? But before we jump in, remember to please hit the like button. Engagement is the main metric YouTube uses to push out my videos to new people, and short of leaving a comment, the like button is the next best thing to tell YouTube that you should show this video to more people. It's easy, it's free, and you'd be doing a massive service to this channel and community. If you really like the channel, then consider subscribing as well so that you don't miss follow-up videos when they go live. Outline writing is a style of writing where you plan out your novel from start to finish. Some outline writers plan everything down to the amount of words per chapter. Others just plan out the major points and how they'll go from one to the next. Regardless, most outline writers are writers who primarily plan out their novels ahead of time. George R.R. Martin calls outline writers architects because they tend to plan and prepare like an architect prepares and plans a building. Brandon Sanderson considers himself an outline writer because he outlines his entire book chapter by chapter. He doesn't do the same for his characters, however, but still falls mostly on the outline writing side of the spectrum. If you find yourself planning out your novel in intricate detail before you even start officially writing it, then you're likely an outline writer. If, however, you find that writing like this drains you of creative energy and you end up getting bored of the story, then you're likely not an outline writer and probably fall more on the discovery writing side of the spectrum. Discovery writers are, quite literally, the opposite of the outline writers we just discussed. Where outline writers want to plan and prepare, discovery writers want to just write. They discover the story as they write it. Where outline writers carefully plan their route on the map, discovery writers prefer to toss out the map and just explore as they go. George R.R. Martin calls discovery writers gardeners. Where architects plan and prepare, gardeners plant a seed, water it every day, and nurture the sapling into a healthy plant. Yes, they can control how often they water it and how they tend the plant's needs, but ultimately they let nature take its course. Brandon Sanderson may outline his stories, but he discovery writes his characters, meaning he lets the characters and their personality develop naturally over the course of the story, despite the plot being planned out ahead of time. If you find yourself daydreaming about your next story and enjoy the act of writing more when you don't know what's going to happen next, then you're likely a discovery writer. If, however, you find that the lack of planning and direction makes you confused, frustrated, or just stunts your ability to tell the story, then you're likely an outline writer. Now, when we compare two different approaches, natural human instinct would be to try and find the best one. We want efficiency, not because we're impatient, but because we're evolved to reduce caloric expenditure. So take that tendency to seek the best method along with the natural human tribalism, and you have the perfect mix for a very toxic comment section. All of that being said, I should probably make this abundantly clear. There is no better method. There is no style that's better than the other. I know you'd like to believe that your preferred method is superior, but the truth is that it merely works better for you. It's like believing that your yellow shirt is better than someone else's blue shirt. Maybe it's better for you, but it's certainly not objectively better. When it comes to the two different styles of writing, try not to fall into this mental trap. These are merely frameworks on a sliding scale, and you need to find what works best for your own mental makeup. In fact, you'll probably find that you use different aspects of both sides to best suit your own style, just like Sanderson does with outline writing the plot but discovery writing his characters. As an example, I found that what works best for me is to outline my world building and characters, but to discovery write my story. I'm a discovery writer at heart and definitely fall more on that side of the spectrum, but I need the structure that world building and established characters provide in order to make that story flourish. It would be utter foolishness for me to try and claim discovery writing is the best method when I clearly utilize parts of outline writing. Similarly, you should try out different methods to see what works for you. Eventually, you'll find that you'll likely end up on one side of the scale while still utilizing parts of the other side. In this last section, I just briefly wanted to go over how you can go about establishing your own approach or style when it comes to these two sides of the spectrum. If you're a new writer, you probably don't know what you should start with. Maybe one sounds better, but how do you know? Well, from personal experience, I can say that you shouldn't just disqualify one method purely because you find the other one more attractive. When I started writing, I thought that discovery writing was the only real method. Then I moved over to purely outline writing because I convinced myself that you can't write a good story without proper planning. After that, I settled on a blend of both, with a stronger slant to discovery writing. The lesson you should take away here is to experiment. A lot. You must find the combination of what works for you at the current moment. My own current method is only what works for me now, and I'm still learning too. For all I know, I could be wildly different in my approach 10 years from now. People change, and so we should all adjust our methods to match as needed. But to make it easier on yourself, you should definitely play to your strengths. Maybe you're a naturally more organized and analytical person. So try outlining to start with and see how it goes. If you're more of a naturally free spirit, then try discovery writing to start with. Bear in mind that these are only starting points to help you play to your strengths. Even a very analytical person could be more of a discovery writer, and a free spirit could thrive off of the structure of an outline. This is something I had to learn the hard way, since I believed I had to stick to a certain method only because of how it matched my personality. Start by playing to your natural strengths, but don't be afraid to shake things up from there. And for the love of all that is good and holy, please read a lot. Okay, this last section it will be a little off topic, but bear with me here. You as an aspiring writer need to read voraciously. You need to read so much it's coming out of your eyeballs. All of the tools and tips I've given you mean absolutely nothing if you don't feed your creative subconscious. A master chef can't become great if he never tries many different foods. A musician can't become a maestro if he never listens to different composers. A writer can't become a genre-defining author if he never reads other works of fiction. Reading fills up your creativity reserves, and you can only find out whether outlining or discovering works for you if you have the creativity reserves to experiment with. This is a larger point that I can't do justice here, and I'll probably want to do a dedicated video on the topic at some point. For now, however, I hope the tips and tools I revealed in this video has helped you in some way. Thank you very much for watching. I sincerely appreciate all your time and attention. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, since that's one of the biggest metrics that YouTube looks at when recommending it. And if you'd like to see more, please hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified of future videos. Take care, and we'll talk again very soon.